Kaya gere karadari, kaya gere karadari, kaya yashodana kana, kaya bhagadana rangana, kaya yashodana kana, kaya bhagadana rangana, kaya yamana tina bhagadana, kaya bhagadana hare, kaya bhagadana hare. Jaya Yamana Devakari, Jaya Kundari Hari, Jaya Kundari Hari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kundari Hari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kundari Hari, Jaya Gopi Jaya Giri Varadari, Jaya Giri Varadari, Jaya Gopi Chandra Bala Giri Varadari, Jaya Giri Varadari, Jaya Yashoda Nandana, Jaya Rajandana Nandana, Jaya Yashoda Nandana, Jaya Rajandana Nandana, Jaya Yamanati Nandachari, Jaya Guru Hare, Jaya Guru Hare, Jaya Yamate Namanachari Jaya Gurgate Hare Jaya Gurgate Hare Jaya Rama Rama Jaya Gurgate Hare Jaya Rama Rama Jaya Gurgate Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Govinda Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Govinda Hare Radha Madhava Santara Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're reading from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, chapter entitled No One Listens to a Poor Man. In a great last-minute endeavor, the devotees obtained the pandal and erected it in time for Prabhupada to begin his program as advertised. On opening day, the devotees held a parade through the street, with Prabhupada riding in a palanquin, a large embroidered umbrella sheltering his head. Also in the procession were decorated elephants, brass bands, and devotees, Indian, American, and European, performing kirtan. Srila Prabhupada's first program was in the morning after the darshan of Govindaji. So as to catch the huge morning crowd, people would come hurrying into the temple to see Radha Govindaji, and then proceeded out into the large Hare Krishna pandal beside the temple. On the opening morning, Prabhupada performed an Abhishek ceremony, bathing marble deities of Radha and Krishna. He named the deities soon to be shipped to the ISKCON temple in New York, Radha Govinda. After one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples had performed a fire sacrifice, Prabhupada lectured to the crowd in Hindi. The schedule for the remaining days would be morning and evening lecture, kirtan, and prasadam distribution. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sarvasastra Sarvagadaika Tatpala Sarvasiddhantara Narya Sarvalaika Katrikradam O nectar from the, on the ocean of all scripture, singular food of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all complete truth. You are the only guru of sight to all the world. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalitvanto Ditya Shri Krishna Paravartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali, you are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishna Namostume. I bow down to you who is supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours than a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone, for you are Shri Krishna himself. Mad ekabando mad sangin mad guru mamahatana mad nistaraka mad bhagya mad anandana mostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asaru saruta dayin athi nishoshita kara hanamanjagata chinmam premnarit yospara. I bestow saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen. Please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So today we are reading from the 5th canto, chapter 18, entitled The Residents of Jambu Dweep Offer Prayers. Text number 32. Jirayujam Svedajam Andajobhidham Characharam Dervashipitribhutamaindriyam Yokhang Shiti Shaila Surit Samudra Vipa Grahakshet Yapiteya Ekaha Jirayujang Svedajam Andajobhidham Characharam Devashipitribhutamaindriyam Yokhang Shitir Shaila Sarit Samudra Vipagrahe Vipagraharshet Yapiteya Ekaha Jirayujang Svedajam Andajobhidam Characharam Devashipitribhutamaindriyam Yokhang Shitir Shaila Sarit Samudra Vipagrahakshet Yupiteya Ekaha. Please chant. Messages? Word for word, please repeat. Jurayujam, one born from a womb. Svedajam, one born from perspiration. Andaja, one born from an egg. Upitam, one born from the earth. Charaacharam, the moving and the stationary. Deva, the demigod. Rishi, the great sages. Pitre, the inhabitants of Pitraloka. Bhutam, the material elements. Air, fire, water, and earth. Aindriyam, all the senses. Yo, the higher planetary systems. Kam, the sky. Kshiti, the earthly planets. Shaila, the hills and mountains. Sarit, the rivers. Samudra, the ocean. Vipa, the island. Grahariksha, the stars and planets. Iti, thus. Apideya, to be variously named. Eka, one. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. My dear Lord, you manifest your different energies in countless forms, as living entities born from wombs, from eggs, and from perspiration, as plants and trees that grow out of the earth, as all living entities, both moving and standing, including the demigods, the learned sages, and the pittas, as outer space, as the higher planetary system containing the heavenly planets, and as the planet Earth with its hills, rivers, seas, oceans, and islands. Indeed, all the stars and the planets are simply manifestations of your different energies. But originally, you are one without a second. Therefore, there is nothing beyond you. This entire cosmic manifestation is therefore not false, but is simply a temporary manifestation of your inconceivable energy. Purport. This verse completely rejects the theory of Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, which states that the spirit, or Brahman, is real, whereas the manifested material world with its great variety of things is false. Nothing is false. One thing may be permanent and another temporary, but both the permanent and the temporary are fact. For example, if someone becomes angry for a certain period, no one can say that his anger is false. It is simply temporary. Everything we experience in our daily lives is of this same character. It is temporary, but real. The different kinds of living entities coming from various sources are very clearly described in this verse. Some are born from the womb, and some, like certain insects, from humans' perspiration. Others hatch from eggs, and still others sprout from the earth. A living entity takes birth under different circumstances according to his past activity. Although the body of a living entity is material, it is never false. No one will accept the argument that since a person's material body is false, murder has no repercussions. Our temporary bodies are given to us according to our karma, and we must remain in our given bodies to enjoy the pains and pleasures of life. Our bodies cannot be called false. They are only temporary. In other words, the energy of the Supreme Lord is as permanent as the Lord himself. Although the energy is sometimes manifest and sometimes not. As summarized in the Vedas, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. Om Jnanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bhangun Lagatim Gurum Yakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is it possible to get some water, please? Thank you. So before I start speaking on this verse on purport today, I would just like to share with you an anecdote which my dear godbrother Vrindavan Madhurya sent to me earlier in the week. You see, this is this verse that we're hearing today is spoken by the residents of Jambudweep in glorification of Kurmadev, the tortoise incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this anecdote is in relation to Kurma Das, the servant of Kurmadev. So, while staying in Sydney, Srila Prabhupada held an initiation and sacrifice in the backyard. The devotees then brought Srila Prabhupada the deity's Mahaprasadam. He looked at the plate and picked out one puri. He smelled it, poked it with his fingers, and then tasted it. This puri is the best puri, he said. It is perfect. Bring me the man who had cooked this puri. The devotees ran off and found the fortunate cook, Kurma Das. Thank you. They brought him before Prabhupada, who said, "Thank you very much for following the rules and regulations. I can understand that to cook such a puri, you are following all the rules nicely." Prabhupada explained that that was the way to do things properly, to follow, to be strict. I don't like second-class things, he said. I like first-class puris. Every day while in Sydney, Prabhupada used to have Kurma's first-class puris, and he liked them very much indeed. So this goes to, for whatever service we are doing, if we want it to become first class, then we have to follow strictly. Srila Prabhupada said that there are three things needed for success in devotional service. One has to be sincere, one has to be serious, and one has to be strict. That's strict upon oneself, not on others. It's very easy to be strict on others. It's not so easy to be strict on oneself. So today we are hearing about Krishna's inconceivable energy. Parasya Shakti Vibhadhaya Shruyate. Krishna has, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has multifarious potencies. So the total sum of energy that comes from Krishna is called Vishnu Maya. That is the total sum of energy. Now within Vishnu Maya, there are different energies function for division and functionality. The different divisions within Vishnu Maya, and obviously different energies have different functions within it. So Shastra tells us that 1/4 of Vishnu Maya is the material creation, which is governed by Mahamaya. And we know Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita the elements within Mahamaya. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kang manobira evacha aham kara vidhiyam me vina prakriti ashtada. That there are 8 separated energies. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And these different elements, they are considered material. And then Krishna explains in the next verse, Aparayamitastvamyam prakritimediveparam jiva bhutamahabaho yayudem jayate jagat. Yet there is another superior nature, superior energy, which consists of the living entities, the jivas, who are exploiting this temporary material nature. So the jivas, the living entities, are Krishna's tatashta shakti. They are spiritual by nature, but they have the tendency to fall into illusion. So the word tatashta consists of actually 2 words. Tata, which means the border or shoreline, to be more specific. You see, on the shoreline, sometimes the ocean covers the shoreline, and sometimes it recedes back and uncovers it. So similarly, the living entities are sometimes covered by Maya, Mahamaya, and sometimes not. Sometimes they're free from illusion. So this is Krishna's Tatastha Shakti, the marginal potency, consisting of the jivas, the living entities. So Krishna's material energy is called the Bahiranga Shakti. Then there's the Tatastha Shakti. And then we hear how the 3/4 of the Lord's total sum of energy, of the total of Vishnu Maya, consists of the spiritual world. governed by Yoga Maya. And whereas just everything in this material world is temporary, everything in the spiritual world is permanent. So that means there are actually two realities. There is a spiritual reality and a material reality. And so both of these realities, they are coming from Krishna, the absolute truth. So if both realities are coming from the absolute truth, how can they be false? It doesn't make sense. How can falsity come from truth? So therefore this slogan, as Srila Prabhupada quotes in today's purport, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, which states that Brahman is real, whereas the material manifestation is false, is incorrect. So within Krishna's internal potency, in his Antaranga Shakti, there are many different energies working. We have the Ladini Shakti, the Samvit Shakti, and the Chit Shakti. So the Ladini Shakti, the potency of bliss, the Chit Shakti, the potency of knowledge, and the Samvit potency, the potency of eternality. So when the living entity attains to the platform of bhava, spiritual preliminary awakening and love of God, it is the Ladini Shakti and the Chit Shakti which which manifest in the living entity. So along with these three potencies, this is what the spiritual energy is made up of. Then there are different potencies which have different functions. There's the Shri Shakti, the potency of opulence, the Bhu Shakti, the Leela Shakti, the pastime potency, and the Nila Shakti, which the Nila Shakti is the function, the potency that creates variety. If there was no Nila Shakti present, the Lord's spiritual energy would be static. There would be no variety at all for eternity. So every single potency the Lord has, it has a very important function to play. So it is the Tatashta Shakti of the Lord, the marginal potency, which is animating the material elements in this world. And because the consciousness of the living entity is absorbed in the material energy, we, the jiva, relates to the energy. Consciousness is like a sponge. It absorbs in its surroundings. For example, we are driving in a car, and someone rams into the back of us. What's the first thing we say? Oh, someone hit me. But actually they didn't, they hit the car. But because our consciousness is absorbed in the car, we relate to the car. So similarly, our consciousness is absorbed in this body, hence we relate to the body. But actually we understand that the soul is different from the body. So according to the actions that we perform in trying to fulfill our desires, we experience various pleasures and pains in the world. So, Srila Prabhupada explains that the jiva has been in this material existence since time immemorial. We hear that there are two types of living entities. There's the Nitya Baddha and the Nitya Siddha, the eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. But the Nitya Baddha can become liberated. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear the famous verse, Brahmanda Brahmita Kon Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Latati. That after traversing the Brahmanda, the material universes, for millions of births, it is only by some unimaginable good fortune that the living entity comes in contact with Guru and Krishna. It is certainly very wonderful, actually, that living entities, by Krishna's mercy, can escape from the bondage of material existence. So the devotees, we understand the desire of the Lord, and therefore we are assisting the Lord in his mission. I would like to share a nectar story from the marathon. I was in West City Shopping Center in Henderson, and I saw this guy. He was dressed in quite unusual clothes. He had matching pants and shirt, but on his pants and shirt he had pictures of faces of all famous hip-hop artists. There was like Snoop Dogg, Tupac Shakur, and they had a big gold medallion with the boss written on it. And he was wearing like these mirror sunglasses. Thought, wow, I've got to stop that guy. He looks very interesting. So he was walking on one side of the corridor inside the shopping mall. He was walking inside along a corridor towards an exit door, and he was walking on one side of the corridor, and I was on the other side, walking a little behind him on the other side. And I was just about to cross over to his side of the corridor when he suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. He just turned directly towards me, walked over to me, shook my hand and said, "My name is Paul. The Lord told me to come and speak to you." I thought, wow, that doesn't happen every day. I wish every exchange was like that. So I put the Bhagavad Gita in his hand, and he was so grateful. It's like, I love reading. I love reading. And I love knowledge. We spoke for a few minutes. We sat down, and yeah, he was more than happy to take a book and give a nice donation. But I just thought it was very, very mystical how the Lord, the super soul in the heart, just flicks a switch, and it's like, I need to come in contact with a devotee. I need to come in contact with a book. So it is certainly very wonderful how, by the Lord's desire, the world is becoming flooded with Krishna consciousness, becoming flooded with Krishna praying. These books, these transcendental books written by Srila Prabhupada, they are giving Krishna prema. They are non-different from Krishna prema, love for Krishna. They inspire the jiva to take up Krishna bhakti. So this is certainly very wonderful. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport here, no one will accept the argument that since a person's material body is false, murder has no repercussion. You try explaining that in the court of law. Actually, this material world is false. Why are you sending me to jail? What they would say? Nonsense. You committed offense. You have to pay the price. The living entities, either individually or collectively, come up with so many speculations about what is right and what is wrong. The governments have created these laws which govern the lands according to speculation, what they think is right and what they think is wrong. And hence we have in every country, there's a completely different law. Some things you can do in one country are okay, sometimes some things you do in another country are forbidden. Therefore, simply speculation. But actually, we can only know what is right and what is wrong in accordance to the laws given by the Lord. Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranitham. That Krishna, he is the enunciator of our religious principles, of dharma, about what is the right thing to do, what is the right action, and what is the wrong action. So therefore, it behooves every living entity in this material world to understand the laws of God. One may be punished by breaking the laws of the land, but one is thoroughly condemned by breaking the laws of God. So therefore, it is essential for every living entity, it is their duty to understand and to live by the laws of the Supreme Lord. So I'll stop there and ask if there's any questions or comments. Anything anyone would like to add? Yes? What it looks like. Okay, these three words that I mentioned in order to attain success: strict, serious, and sincere. So to be strict, the epitome of strictness is Raghunath Das Goswami. You know, that he was so strict in his vows. You know, it's described that they were like lines in stone. You know, that no matter how hard you try, you cannot erase lines in stone. They're permanent. So similarly, when we make a vow, you know, when we take up Krishna consciousness and we start following the rules and regulations, we should be of the mentality that no matter what happens to me in life, no matter what stage of life I'm at, no matter what happiness and distress I experience, you know, I'm going to hang on to these vows, these rules and regulations as my life. This is my very life. Nothing can separate me from these rules and regulations. In the beginning, it can be very painful to follow rules and regulations, both mentally and sometimes physically. Like, it's not always easy to wake up early in the morning, you know, but by following the rules and regulations very strictly in the beginning, after some years of practice, they become as easy as breathing. You know, there's no problem at all. As Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, mode of goodness, what is poison in the beginning turns out to be nectar in the end. Actually, by following the rules and regulations, they don't bring us to a transcendental platform. They make us a human being. These four regulative principles, they're just there to make us a human being, which is actually quite rare in today's world, to be a real human being. Then, of course, these rules make us the human being, and we take vows, we accept vows to increase our devotion to Krishna. We may take vows to increase our hearing and chanting on the Ekadashi. We take vows to fast to also increase hearing and chanting. So one should accept vows with the mentality of hell, rain or shine. I'm going to complete this. I'm going to stick to these vows no matter what happens. You know, so that means one should be very strict on themselves. And sincerity, you know, it comes from the heart. Since I heard my Guru Maharaj, he say that you know when someone is sincere because they'll be in the temple room after Mangala Aarti chanting japa. You know? So, yes, sincerity means that, you know, we want to be genuine, we want to be straightforward, free from duplicity. one of the greatest hindrances to bhakti is duplicity. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, Salalata hi Vaishnavatva, that simplicity is Vaishnavism. So sincere means that we want to be genuine in our actions. We want, if we're going to show devotion, it should be, we should be sincere in our endeavors. It's not that I show my devotion, but internally I've got some other plans. There's some other plans brewing. So, and serious, strict, sincere, and serious. Yeah. So we should be very serious in our endeavor. Serious, serious in our endeavor to please Krishna. We can't do things half-heartedly. There's no devotion in the half-hearted offering. Something is there. There will be some benefit, of course. It's like chanting mechanically. There's some benefit, but there's so much more benefit from offenseless chanting. So yeah, these three things are essential to attain perfection in bhakti. Any other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am. Mayavad. Sorry, can you repeat that? Flourishing. What's the reason for Mayavad philosophy flourishing? Well, it's I guess it's another excuse for living entities to reject the existence of God. We hear Srila Prabhupada say that it's the last snare of Maya, to consider that for one to think themselves to be God. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a big boost to the ego to think you're God. False ego, that is. Yeah. Yeah, the Mayavadis, they meditate on God to become God. Yeah, it's attractive to the living entity to think that they can become God. Because God has everything that we want. He's all attractive. He is complete in 6 opulences. Therefore, why can't I be the same? But actually, the Mayavadis, they don't accept. They say God has, what was it? God has no limbs, no eyes, no hands. That He is formless. But yet somehow they accept the existence of the Supreme, of Brahman. Yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi, that the Mayavadis are the greatest offenders of the Supreme Lord. And they say that the Supreme Lord exists, but he is helpless, lame, blind, dumb. In this way, they insult God. Even Shankaracharya, the head of the Mayavadi cult, told his followers, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam Mudamate, Samprapte Sanahite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karane. That he said, you fools, if you think you're going to be saved by juggling suffixes and prefixes, you will never be saved. Just worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. This is the head of the Mayavad. The person who established the Mayavad philosophy, Shankaracharya, he's telling his followers to worship Govinda, but yet his followers are so foolish that they reject Govinda. So, yeah. He also said that if one hears, the Mayavadis are very expert at making their philosophy sound so pleasing, so beautifully articulate and attractive, that it's very easy to captivate one's mind by reading that literature. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explained that if one reads Mayavadi Bhashya Shunila Hoya Shabanasha, that by reading the commentary of the commentaries of Shankaracharya, one's spiritual life will be doomed, be completely finished. It said that the Mayavadi philosophy is so bewildering that it can even transform the mind of a Mahabhagavat. A topmost devotee. That's how dangerous it is. So yes, we should take the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada very seriously and keep our distance from anything that's tinged with Mayavad. We have to be very protective of our Bhakti Lata Beach, our devotional creeper. By hearing the words of the Mayavadis, it will destroy our creeper of devotion. Any other comments or questions? So, please, can you speak up a bit? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Guru. Thank you. And Srila Prabhupada dedicated his whole life to fighting against Mayavad. Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshanari. So we should also become armed with knowledge that we can also fight against Mayavad philosophy. Hmm. Thank you. Okay, so maybe we can stop there. Thank you all kindly for your attention. Gantra Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Janitai Gaur Premanand.